All right, guys, good evening, all of you. I hope you guys should be able to mute and unmute yourself. Okay, anyways, so good evening. And today we are going to start FortiGate lab. It's a demo. What we are going to do in this particular session is just hardcore technical stuff, as in FortiGate troubleshooting. Okay, when I say FortiGate troubleshooting, what I mean is that a lot of times, a lot of people who a lot of students who comes to me, they are well versed about what needs to be configured, how things needs to be configured, or if they are not really aware of it, they still figure out a way, going through the KB articles or some discussions online. They know that if I need to configure something, I can do that. The real challenge comes up when they are trying to um, troubleshoot an issue, when they're trying to figure out where exactly the problem lies. Okay, that's where the real challenge comes in. Okay, so now what we're going to do today in our today's class is, I'm not going to take up any theoretical session or topic. What I'm going to do is we are going to dig deep. We're going to dive right into one of the troubleshooting sessions. Let's say, for example, you have a setup, you have a customer, you have number of clients. Now the customer is coming up and saying, hey, you know what, I'm just trying to access this particular resource, and I'm not able to access it. Just fix this issue for me. Okay, so how would you start troubleshooting? How would you start the basic questioning of what exactly it is, but which is not working and all that stuff? Okay, so that is what we are going to talk about in today's session. Okay. um and I know, and I do understand that you guys would be having questions when we are working on it, and maybe certain questions related to the topic, or maybe something else, or whatever it is. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to give you a link. This link is basically a Google form. This Google form would basically help you out with any questions that you have. Okay, you can post your questions over there, and once we are maybe halfway or 45 minutes into the session, then I'll probably take the the questions that you have already attached. Okay, so it's a Google form. Just go ahead and put in whatever questions that you have. Okay, give me 1 minute. Let me just share this with you all. Give me 1 second. All right. All right, so if everyone has got the Google link, just type in the chat window yes. Okay, all right, guys, all of you got the link? Yes, no? You can put it in the chat. Okay, all right, good. Okay, all right, so now we are going to start off with the session of live troubleshooting when we are working on a FortiGate. Okay, we have in our past demos, we have done the basic setup and how to approach a particular topic and all that stuff. But today we are going to work on the troubleshooting. Okay, so what we are going to do first is, you would have this kind of environment, or this lab will be provided to you in the FortiGate class. The end result would be that you would be able to create a setup where you would have a whole network of India location, where you'll have a FortiGate firewall which is working in an HA setup. Okay, this device will be connected to a network over here, and this would in turn be connected to another HA setup which is somewhere remote location. Maybe in the US there is a branch which is in your US location, and that is also working in the HA setup. With this HA, you also would be having the SD-WAN implementation, and with on top of the SD-WAN implementation, you will have an IPsec VPN tunnel as well in a hub and spoke technology. Okay, so once you cover up the whole complete course, you would be able to basically handle the HA with the SD-WAN implementation plus the IPsec dual VPN standards. Okay, and you would be able to figure out where exactly the problem is, how would you troubleshoot, how to fix an issue. Okay, so that this lab would help you in those kind of challenges, and this is one of the real implementations of one of my clients. Okay, not an Indian customer, somewhere out, but I've just removed all the personal details. But this was the crux of the lab. Okay, okay. So I'm going to open up one of the lab FortiGate firewall, which is you can see over here. It is called as FortiGate India. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. Okay, enter. All right. Now, what we are going to do is, in this particular setup, we have one machine which is called as the Firewall Expert PC. Maybe one of your administrators who is using this one. This guy is connected to this Indian LAN switch. Okay, it's a LAN switch which is connected directly to your FortiGate India location. Okay, now this is FortiGate India is connected via the port 3. Port 1 is connected to the network or the ISP. Okay, and then this ISP basically has access to everything. I mean, it's the internet access that you have. Now, customer is coming up having a question or having an issue where he is not able to access one of the DNS servers, which is basically a Google DNS server, and he's not able to access that. Now, since he is not able to access that, a lot of custom applications which he's running, a lot of other setups and applications and certain servers which uses the Google DNS server, they have stopped running because of maybe some issue which he does not know. But the problem is he is not able to access that particular resource. Now, what we need to do as a firewall administrator is to figure out where the problem is. Okay, guys, mute yourself, all of you. I heard certain background noises, but chalo, no worries. Okay, so that's the topic of today's session. Now, is the topic all of you clear? Is the topic clear, all of you? We have a Google DNS server. This DNS server is not accessible, and due to which we are not able to access certain applications and certain internal web servers. They're not able to work correctly. Okay, so what we are going to do is we need to figure out where the problem is and why we are not able to access the Google DNS server. Is it a problem on the firewall, maybe on the router, maybe on the PC, wherever it is? Okay, all right. So we have the FortiGate India, which is now this is the console that I have. Now the first thing is I do not know whether do I have access to the GUI or not. So how would I know that? What is the IP address of this firewall? I do not know that as well. How would I know that? So you get the console, you log into the device. Now the username password for me is admin password. You can change that whatever you want. Now I am into the FortiGate Indian location. It's a console over here. I need to know what IP address do I have on port 1. Okay, how do I get to know that? There are a couple of ways you can identify that. One of the ways is by using this command, which is called as get system interface. Okay, now again, to maximize this, if you do this, get system interface, absolutely would be able to see all the information, but this will tell you about all the interfaces that you have. As of now, I'm not really interested in looking into all the interfaces. I just want to know how would I get to know the IP address of my port 1. So the one way is you can put in grep, okay, or pipe, you can say, and then say grep command and say port 1. I just need to see port 1. That's it. All right. So if you execute this command, it will only show you the IP address that you have on port 1. Okay. Right. So I know IP address on my port 1 is 192.168.42.95. Now also the mode is DHCP. Okay, all right. Do I have access to this guy or not? Let's see. 192.168.42.95. Okay. 192.168.42.95. Okay. Do I have access? Great. I do have. Okay, so let's log in. Admin password. This up. Okay. Now over here, as of now, the customer has only said that he is not able to access Google DNS server. That is the only information that I have, nothing else. Now I need to figure out what exactly the problem is. Okay, First thing, what do you think would should we do? Now, if the customer is saying, I'm not able to access DNS, what is the first thing that we should do? The first thing is we need to find out that if he's saying he's not able to access, let's just see. Let's try to figure out. Step one is always try to replicate the situation that the customer is saying. Okay, so I'll go into the customer and say, hey, can you give me a machine? Can you give me a remote of some of the system that you have? I need to find out, I need to figure out what exactly the problem is. What is the end behavior looks like? Okay, so that is step one. What is the end behavior? Okay, so he gave me a machine which okay. So over here, machine, now let's see what IP do I have over here. So I say show. Okay, so it says the IP address do I have is 172.16.2.2. Okay, and the gateway is 32.1. Now, step two is to make sure that this guy is able to reach my firewall. Okay, does he have access to my gateway or not? Because if he does not even have the access to my gateway, how does any user can expect that he will be able to access the internet when he does not even have access to the gateway, right? So step two is to always make sure that you have access to your gateway. How do I confirm that? Ping 172.16.32.2. Let's see. Okay, pingable, great to know. So now I know that I'm able to access my gateway as well. Now what we need to do is the third step is, now the client says he's not able to access the Google DNS server. Okay, fine. Let's try to ping Google DNS server. Ping 8.8.8. Let's see what we have. Okay, so it is timing out. Okay. Oh, okay. So there are certain more information I can see. I'm getting the sequence 1, 3, and 5 as time out, and I have sequence 2 which says TTL 255. Then you have the time. Then we have ICMP type 3, code 1, destination host unreachable. Oh, okay. What does this mean? I mean, what's the difference between a timeout and this guy, right? See, this basically means anybody knows this? Put a yes in the chat box if anybody knows what exactly this means. What is a timeout? You can put it in the chat, just a yes or no. That's more than sufficient. If not, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to tell you that. Okay, see over here, when I say sequence is timeout, all right, timeout basically means that I'm trying to reach a destination or whatever destination that I'm trying to ping, but I'm not getting any response back. Okay, so that's basically timeout. This over here, my friend, is a way of saying that the destination that I'm trying to access is basically not reachable. Not reachable by who? By one of your upstream devices. Maybe it could be your gateway. It could be maybe another router, or maybe some another upstream, or maybe on the some guy or some router or some firewall out there who's basically not able to access this, who does not have the route to particular destination that you're trying to access. Now, if that's the case, that router is just sending you an ICMP code, okay, with type 3, stating that, hey, you know what, this destination not reachable for me. I do not know the route. I do not know the way to figure out that. Now, if you are finding both of them in the same thing, that means something else is having a problem. How can you have a timeout plus a host unreachable, right? It has to be a problem, right? Now again, this is one of the real issues that we faced, and that's what we are going. That's what I'm sharing with you as well. Okay, so be with me, and I'll help you out with understanding the logic behind that, and how would you approach this kind of question, setup that you have. Okay. Okay, so now we know that if I ping Google DNS server, I'm getting this. It's a timeout plus unreachable command. Okay, all right. So we figure out step one, that I'm able to access my gateway. Step two is to replicate the situation or the scenario which the customer is trying to say. So I am able to replicate that scenario where I'm not able to access this Google DNS server. Okay, step three. Step three is we need to log into the firewall somehow. I mean, CLI or maybe the GUI. CLI is a much better choice because you would have much control about what exactly that you want to see, what exactly information that you want to, extract, because GUI would basically give you general information, not much specific, general information. Okay, so what we are going to do is, whenever you are working on a firewall expert, or whenever you think that you are a firewall expert, you need to understand this. Okay, guys, can you hear me? Is my voice breaking, all of you? Yes, no? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, your
You can put it in the chat.
voice is too choppy.
Okay. Okay. Is it better now? Is it okay now?
Still choppy, but maybe a little better.
Now let's see. Okay. Okay, changed the network. Okay. Any better? Still the same.
Yes, it's good now.
Okay. Right. If in case you are still having issues, do let me know. Okay, so Ashif said that's working. Great. Okay. All right. So where was I? Step 3. Yeah. So I need to log into the FortiGate firewall to figure out where the problem is. Is the firewall forwarding the traffic or not? Okay. So let's try this. Let's log into Mr. Firewall. Okay. Okay. So I got logged out. No problem. Let's log in back. Got it. Now the next is, the step 3 is that now I need to figure out whether the traffic is getting forwarded by the firewall or not. Now, how would I do that? How would I confirm whether the traffic is being received? I mean, there are two parts to it. One is that I need to figure out, I need to confirm whether the traffic is being received by my FortiGate firewall. That is step one. And step 2 is, if I'm receiving that traffic, am I forwarding it or not? Okay, that's basically the whole point of having the firewall. Receive the traffic, forward the traffic. Certain inspections going on here and there, but that's the whole point. How would I confirm that? You need to have access, or you need to know a command which will tell you about that. What is, maybe you would call this as a TCP dump in certain firewalls. Over here, you call this as a sniffer capture. Okay, how would I take a sniffer capture? Let's see this. So I say diagnose sniffer. Okay. Now you guys can write this down as well. This is always the first thing that you should do in a FortiGate firewall. If in case there is any problems coming up with respect to traffic not reachable or whatever it is, the first thing is always check. Are you receiving the firewall? Are you receiving the traffic on the firewall or not? Okay. So the command is diagnose sniffer. Sniffer what? Packet. Okay. Okay, where do I sniff the packet? Which interface? I say any, because as of now, I'm just trying to capture everything the FortiGate is basically receiving, any interface. Okay, all right. All right, fine. Interface is okay. What is it that I'm trying to capture? So I say inverted comma, and I am specifying a filter over here. What filter? I say ICMP. Okay. One of the most common filters which is being used whenever you're troubleshooting network issues. Okay. So when I say ICMP is because I need to figure out whether do I have the layer 3 connectivity or not. Let's say, for example, if the DNS is not working, it's layer 7. All right. Maybe a port issue or something like that. But first of all, I need to confirm whether on a layer 3 scale, OSI layer 3, do I have connectivity between these two people, the client machine and the DNS server? If they're able to ping, great. If they're still not able to access the DNS, maybe some port issues, you can look into that in the next steps. But first of all, layer 3, do I have basic network connectivity on it? So ICMP, that's why ICMP. And now closing this inverted comma. All right. And now if you put a question mark over here, you will see a lot of information about how much detailed packet information that you need over here. How much detailed information do you need on the console output? Okay. Now you can go from 1 to 6. 6 is always used if in case you're working with the tech environment, or maybe somebody from the tech. 1 not used. 2, 3 again detailed information. 4 is the most used verbosity level. Now you look over here, it says verbose. Verbose basically means then how detailed information you need in a packet. Okay, so now over here, what I need to know is that in the verbosity level, I have 4. Why? Because if you look over here, it says print header of the packet. Okay, and it says with the interface name. Okay, all right. Now let me do one thing. Now over here, I'm going to use this port 4. Sorry, I'm going to use verbosity 4, and I do a question mark again. Now see, it says sniffer count. Okay, sniffer count basically means how many packets do you want to capture? 5, 10, 50, 100, how many? Okay, if you're not really sure of how many packets you want, you can put in 0. Now 0 basically means keep on capturing the packets until and unless the firewall administrator manually cancels the packet sniffer. Okay, so that 0 stands for that. What I'm going to do is, let's say I'll say 10 packets. 10 packets is more than sufficient because it's a ping command, right? Again, question mark. So it says, what is the time format do you need? So UTC, I mean, if your FortiGate is installed in a time zone where UTC is being followed, you can use which is A. If in case you want to, get the time in the local time, which is basically whatever the time zone that you are working on, you want that, or whatever the local time zone the FortiGate firewall is working, or whatever NTPs that you have configured. If you want that time zone, you use the L command. Okay, so I'm going to use the L over here. Again, question mark. It says set the frame size. Okay, how much should be in the frame size? Now again, this is when you are working with performance issues. Okay, when you're working with slowness issues, latency, lag, MTU problems, and path MTU problems, something like that. There you decide what frame size you should be having. With the troubleshooting that what we are doing right now, as of now, not required. So you can just end the command over here itself to say enter. Once you do that, it tells you using the original sniffing mode, interfaces is any. Basically, I'm capturing everything, and the filter is ICMP. Okay, so I'm just filtering all the interfaces for the ICMP traffic. Okay, all right. So I have this ready. Okay. Now, guys, if you have any questions, you already have the Google form with you. Go ahead, put in as many questions that you want. Okay, once we are finishing up, maybe in the last 10-15 minutes, to that form, start answering all the questions that you guys have. Okay, that will still also have another 5-10 minutes for any live Q&A that you want to have. Okay, coming back. So in the capture, I have running this capture. I'm going to where is my client machine? Yeah, so this is my client machine. Okay, let me do this easier to see. Yeah, good. Okay, so I'm going to execute this ping command once more and see. Let's say ping, and we can see the time it's timing out. Okay, and then we have a host unreachable command as well, and over here as well we can see the host unreachable command. Okay, good. So now let's try to figure out what does this mean, because the easiest job, what is the easiest job? Getting this output. This is the easiest job. The difficult part is you need to know what exactly this means, and what do you concur from this. What do you expect the next step should be? Okay, that's where a good administrator and a general administrator, that's the difference. Okay, general one or just basic one would be able to just get the output. A good administrator or a firewall administrator would be able to understand what would be the next steps. Okay, so let's see. Over here we can see the 2022 to 27. That's basically today's date. Now 4:50, this time is little odd because it's my lab environment. So anyways, we are not basically uh, you know looking into that. The next is port 3. Now I know that the traffic which is coming in, it's coming from port 3. Let's see, is it connected to port 3, my machine over here? Yes, port 3, correct. So port 3, and it says in. What does this mean? This basically means the direction. Okay, what is the direction from which the traffic is coming in. So it says the traffic is coming in from port 3, okay, entering from port 3. And when the traffic is entering on port 3, is 132.32. And this arrow basically means the destination, where the traffic is actually going. What is the destination IP? Okay, so the destination IP for me is 8.8.8.8. Okay, absolutely fine, because this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to ping 8.8, right? And it says, also says that
Sorry,
this
please.
is an
I
IUCMP,
wanted to
which
ask.
obviously I'm, yeah.
The 8.8.8.8, I think it's a DNS server, right?
That's the
Global
DNS server.
DNS.
That's the issue of the client as well. That's the issue of the client as well, that he's not able to access one of the Google DNS server, which is 808. So that's what we're using. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
thank
All
you.
right. Alrighty. So, okay, we are able to receive the traffic. No problem. Port 3, fine. And then we see another traffic coming in for the same resource. What does this mean? That there was a second request, which is fine, because if you look over here, I have send about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 packets. Okay. So 2, and then we have the third one, which is says port 3 out. Oh, okay. Port 3 and saying out, meaning the traffic is going out from your port 3. Now I was receiving the traffic from port 3 as well. Now I'm sending the traffic to port 3 as well. Now look over here. The IP address is different. It says 172.16.32.1. What is this? This is the gateway, right? This is the gateway. Now, who is this gateway? For our main, actually. Let me show you. Show system interface port 3. See this? 172.16.32.1. So you know what is happening? Are you able to understand what is happening? My FortiGate firewall is sending a reply packet, okay? To who? 32.2. Who is 32.2? The client machine, okay? And I'm telling the client machine that host 8.8 is unreachable. Ah, okay. So the FortiGate firewall does not know how to reach this guy. That's very odd, because a firewall should know how to reach destination, and especially a Google DNS server. That is expected, right? But something is happening, and we are not able to figure out why exactly the FortiGate is behaving in such a manner. Okay, as of now, I do not know why the FortiGate firewall is behaving in such a manner, right? But what we have identified till now, the step 3, is that we have figured out is whatever the somewhere it is on, because we are over here, put 3 out traffic from 32.1 to 32. Which in a way, the gateway is telling to the client machine, I do not know where this 8.8 is. Okay, now this is what we need to figure out. All right. So from the packet sniffer, we were able to figure out that, okay, problem is somewhere on the FortiGate firewall. Okay, that is 1. 2, I am receiving, the FortiGate is receiving the traffic as well. Okay. Tell me one thing. I'm not sure if should I ask this or not. Okay, tell me one thing. We all know that a session table is created, right? A session table is created for all the traffic goes through for any firewall for that matter, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, Sophos, or CyberRoam, whatever it is. If there is a firewall, there
Rakshi,
has to be a session table, okay? And every,
hello.
yeah,
Actually, your voice is breaking somewhere. Can you just check your internet, please?
okay, hold on. One sec. Okay. I hope this is working now.
Yeah, it's fine now. Please go ahead.
Good. Okay, all right. So now we know that the problem is somewhere on the FortiGate firewall. Now let's move on to the next part. Okay, so we are pinging, getting some response back. Now, the question which I wanted to ask you guys is that whenever we are working on any firewall, we know that there is a session table being configured, or we have a session table where you have information about all the sessions. Now, when do you think the session table basically works? Is it when the traffic is going out, or when the traffic is being received on the firewall? What do you think? A or B? Received on the firewall, which is A. B is when it's going out. A or B? Okay. So I'm getting some answers over here. Okay. All right. Okay. See, let me show you over here. What I did was I was trying to ping over here. Let me show you once more. Please start. Come on. Bring this up again. Let's power this on again. Maybe because of the network got stuck. So let's try this. Yeah, got it. Great. Okay, so now let's try this up once more. Let's ping this 8.8.8.8. Okay, now, okay, timing out. So that's what I wanted to see. Now let's quickly check whether on the FortiGate firewall, do I have any sessions? Now, how would I check that? How would I check whether do I have any sessions over here? Okay, so I say get system session list. Okay, now see over here, it is going to tell you about all the sessions that you have on your FortiGate firewall. Okay, I'm not really interested into that. What I'm really interested is just the information about the troubleshooting that I'm doing right now. So what I do is get system session list, again do a pipe. Okay, I'm just filtering information. All right, so I say grep. All right, and I just want to figure out, or I just want to see information about the Google DNS. So I say 8.8.8.8, enter. Great. Now this is crisp and clear. I know what exactly the information is being using over here. Now see, column 1, ICMP. Column 2, there is a number. Now what do you think this number is? You can put it in the chat window. What do you think this number is? 14, 16, 12, 18. What do you think this number is? Even your random answers is fine, absolutely, but put it in the chat. Okay, now there's a third column which says 172.16.32.2. Okay, now we know that, okay, this is the source or the client machine, so the source IP. Okay, now we have something which is called as 2020. Oh, okay, this we're not aware of. What is this IP? And we see 8.8.8.8. Okay, good. So we know the destination IP is also there. We know the source IP is also there. We know this is an ICMP traffic, and we have certain number over here. Now 14, 16, 12. What is this? This is the session timer. When I say session timer, basically this means how much more the traffic would stay in the session table before it flushes out. Okay, and since it's ICMP, the information stays for 60 seconds. Okay, now if I do this again, you won't find this. Let me do this. Okay, do you see anything? It's empty, nothing at all. Why? Because while we were discussing, this time expired, 14 seconds gone. All right, so 172.16.32.2, fine. I know this IP, I know this IP, I do not know what this IP is. What do you think? What do you think this could be?
Source NAT.
Source NAT, absolutely. So my FortiGate firewall is translating this IP 172.16.32.2 to an IP which is 2020. Okay, fine, but I do not know about, if I know the end result, which is source NATed to 20.20, but I do not know about, was it because of the interface has the IP of 2020, or because maybe I have an IP pool which is configured with 2030. Do I know that information? No. How would I know that information? Now again, there's one more troubleshooting or debug command which we call debug flow. You might have heard about debug flow. The problem with the debug flow is that you'll find a lot of information, KB articles, discussion, all that stuff, but nobody talks about step by step how to read debug flow. Okay, so what we're going to do today is just that. We're going to read the debug flow one by one, step by step, relate each and every line to whatever is happening right now in the situation. Okay, that's what we're going to do. All right, so as of now, I know information about the source IP, the actual source IP. I have the source NAT IP. I have the destination IP. Now I need to figure out why is this happening and if is this correct or not, first of all. Okay, all right. So let me put it over here. Let me put this in the top. I'll use the command window over here. Okay. Now let me show you one more thing, which normally the FortiGate TAC people, they normally use this. This is the debug flow command. Okay. Do you guys want this? Do you want this? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yeah, please put it in the chat window.
Yeah, I'm putting it on chat. Hope you all should be getting it. Got it? All of you received the chat?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Now see over here, let me explain you this first because you should know why you're using all these things, right? Okay. So let me zoom this up. Okay. Now see over here, you have something which is called as diagnose, debug, reset. Okay. Now diagnose, debug, reset is basically a way of saying that whatever the debug has been till now, you reset that. Why? Because let's say, for example, there were certain debugs which was used before you took this console window or before you took the putty session or the SSH session, right? So if you're not resetting those, you might get those information as well. Whatever filters that was being used previously, you can also see that information. Now that will be irrelevant to what you're doing right now. So you always reset, clear off, clear the dashboard basically. Okay, so okay, diagnose, debug, reset. First command, always you should use this. Okay, second is diagnose, debug, and you say flow. Now what is flow? Diagnose, debug, flow basically means you need to see the information in a flow, step by step, one by one, process by process. That is why you use the command flow. Okay, and then you say I need a filter. Again, why do you need a filter? Because you need to see specific information in crystal clear information. You do not need to see everything what your FortiGate firewall is doing. Okay, you just need to see specific information. So filter, and I say clear. Why do I say clear? Again, if there was any filters which was being used previously, you do not want those filters to be applied to your debug flow. Hence, you're clearing it off. Okay, done. Third, diagnose, debug, flow, filter. Now I am going to put a filter. Now over here, if you do a question mark, you'll see a lot of information about, the VD name. VD is basically virtual domain, protocol, addresses, source address. Now source address is being used as SADR, destination address is DADR. This is just my makeup. I mean, I don't know. I feel it good over that. So anyway, port, source port, destination port, whatever you want, you can use that. Guys, mute yourself. I see a background noise is coming up. Okay, so filter. Now over here, all I'm going to do is I'm using a filter which is called as ADDR or adder. Why am I using this? Reason is I want to see communication going from this IP as well as receiving from this IP. Okay, if I put in as SADR or SADDR or source address, it is only going to show me information about the specific source IP. Okay, as of now, I want to know the communication, the full communication, bi-directional communication. That is why I say ADDR. And there's always a good practice used to use ADDR. I'm not saying you should not use ADDR or DADDR, which is the source of the destination. You can, but I would say 80% of the situation which I have seen and handled, ADDR gives you a better view or it gives you better results about what exactly is happening. Is it a problem on your FortiGate sending the traffic, or a problem when the traffic is being received on the firewall? So you will be able to know that. Okay. Anyways, ADDR, and then I need to know 8.8.8.8. Why? Of course, Google DNS problem, right? So enter. Next, diagnose, debug, console. Let's see, console. Now, console basically, in a way, it's you're telling your FortiGate firewall that I want to show, or I want to see all this information right here on the console window. Okay, so console, and you're saying timestamp. You're telling your FortiGate firewall, show me the timestamp, time values as well. Okay, and I say enable. Okay. Now next, diagnose, debug, flow, show what? iProp. Now what is iProp? iProp is basically information about the routes. What route it's taken, why is it taken, and what's the reason behind that. Okay, so iProp is that. Now what with iProp you say enable. Okay, now again, it's up to you if you want to use iProp or not, but it's always one of the FortiGate attack practice, and this is what I also suggest. Reason is because you should know when the traffic is being received on your FortiGate firewall, what is the route, what is the destination, what is the gateway, and what firewall policy and everything. Okay, you should know all those things, right? So iProp. Coming back, diagnose, debug, and then we have show. See, flow, show. Okay, and then I say function. Now what is function name? Function name basically means whatever functions which your FortiGate firewall is calling on that particular traffic, 8.8.8. I want to see all those information. Okay, what function is being called? Application control, IPS, web filter, DNS filter, or maybe a route function, or maybe a ACL function, whatever it is, I need to know that. So function name, and I say enable. All right, next is diagnose, debug, flow, trace. Trace basically means now start tracing it, and I say start the information. Okay, start tracing the information. And now again, you have to put in some value, maybe 100 or maybe 1000. Again, up to you. 1000 is, I mean, this is my own recommendation. 1000 is more than sufficient. Although 100, you would be able to get to know the information in 100 lines. Okay. 1000 is, again, if you're doing a long troubleshooting, maybe you're not sure, you need to know a lot of information, you need to check a lot of information on the debug flow, then 1000 is fine. 100 is actually one of the good ways to go. Once you are fully versed with the debug flow, you would automatically start using 100 as compared to 1000. Okay, so as of now, just for the practice, we're using 1000. Okay, enter. Now this is done. Your debug flow commands, whatever you have been using, it's all done. This is the proper format of using debug flow. Okay, and we know what is the reason behind every command that we are executing. Okay, now if you are missing out on any of these commands, it is not that you won't get the result, you won't get the debug flow, you will, but maybe not much information. Now this will give you crystal clear information about everything which is happening on your FortiGate firewall with respect to this 8.8. Okay, all right, diagnose, debug, enable. As soon as I execute this command, okay, I'll start the ping and see what is happening. Okay, so diagnose, debug, enable. Okay, done. Now let me just extend this so that we are able to see better information. Now again, ping over here, coming to the machine, and ping 8.8. Okay, great. So we can see your information now. See, with each line, you get a bunch of codes over here. Each line, bunch of codes over here. Each line, bunch of codes over here. Okay. Now, how many information do we have over here? Sequence 1, sequence 2, sequence 3, sequence 4, and sequence 5, right? Now look over here. Let me show you from the starting. Now see, I can maximize this now. Okay. Guys, is this are you able to see this, or should I, use a better font? Let me make this a little let's use this 14. Okay, I think this should be better, right? Okay. Now see, do you see this sequence 1? Received call sequence 1. Let me show you over here. received packet sequence 2, okay, and sequence 3, sequence 4. So you know that for every packet of ICMP that you are sending, or every ICMP packet that you have, okay, this ICMP packets, these are 5 ICMP packets. For each 5 ICMP packets, you have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 lines. More approximately, you have 20 lines for each ICMP packet, more than enough for you to understand what is happening. Okay, now let's see what is the cause. Okay, print packet detail line 5273, which is a way of telling you that which line the FortiGate firewall was using in the backend. Okay, irrelevant for us. Relevance from here. VD root, meaning traffic is being received on the firewall, which is called as VDOM root, or default it is VD root. If you have multiple VDOMs, then you might see something else, maybe VDOM finance or IT or whatever it is. Okay, it is received the packet. Protocol equals 1. Protocol equals 1 is what? ICMP. Okay, 172.16.32 is the source IP address, and then this is the sequence 1. Okay. Next, you can ignore this one. Now see, do you see this function equals function equals function equals function equals? Do you know why you are seeing this over here? This is the reason behind that. Okay, it says init IP session, common line, ignore, message, allocate a new session. Okay, so if I'm allocating a new session, basically this means the traffic is being accepted. Okay, now this is from my own experience, I know this, but you will see that information in the coming lines. Okay, so allocate a new session, fine. Okay, next line, iprop dnat check. Okay, look over here, I did enable the iprop, right? So it says iprop dnat check message in port 3. Okay, so I know the traffic is being received on which port? Port 3. It says out and it says bracket blank. What does it mean? It means FortiGate firewall as of now does not know about what is the out interface, does not know about where the FortiGate has to forward this traffic to. As of now, he does not know. Okay, he only knows that he has received this information on port 3. That's it. Next line, iprop result SKB flags. Now this is NEC7 material, so as of now you can ignore this. Okay, return no match. As of now, return no match basically means that no information has been used. I mean, there was no return traffic, so no return matched. Okay, next, match policy routing. Okay, so 8.8. Okay, now as of now, I do not have any I do not have any policy route, so it won't show me any information about that. Let me lower this down a little bit. Yeah, better. Okay, so so match routing via IF index. Now IF index is basically the FortiGate firewall uses index value for each, so that is why IF basically means interface and then index. Again, NEC7 material, as of now, ignore that. Okay, coming back, forward check, iprop forward check message port 3 in, and now see, the FortiGate was able to identify that the traffic needs to be being pushed out or being I mean, the FortiGate firewall will be using port 2 to forward the traffic. Okay, all right, good to know. So I know that the FortiGate firewall is receiving the traffic on port 3 but using port 2 to forward the traffic. Okay, all right, next, iprop check message, look over here. Okay, now this is internal checking of the genome, is again NEC7 material, as of now you need to ignore. Again, check one policy line message checked, policy 1. Okay, return matched, great, action accept. Okay, so now over here I know that the FortiGate firewall has confirmed there was a return match. Now you see, this is not a return match as in there was a ICMP reply which was returned. No, this is not that return match. Return match basically means the traffic was received on which port? Port 3, right? Now return match basically means, is the FortiGate allowed to send the traffic back on port 3. That is what the return match is what it is talking about over here. Okay. Would this be able to send the traffic from a port 3? Because there are certain rules, there are certain policies where you can tell your FortiGate firewall that whenever you are receiving any traffic, you should always maybe port 1 or port 5 send the traffic, use port 3. There are reasons, maybe some other webinar we would be able to talk about that as well. Okay, guys, mute yourself, all of you. Okay, so now we know that the port 3 and port 2 is being used. Okay, next, policy 1. Policy -1 basically means that there is a policy which is being created and I'm using that policy. Okay, so policy 1 is being used. Okay, iprop check return matched, fine, function get new address, fine, find snat. Now what is find snat? Now this is message find snat. Okay, this is internal working of your FortiGate firewall. Find snat, what does it mean? Find snat basically means that do I have to nat the traffic? It says IP 2020 from IP pool. Okay, all right. So it says that, okay, I have an interface and I have an IP pool, and then this 2020 is being used from there. Okay, all right. So I know this. I didn't have this information in over here. Remember, in the session list, I can only find out that it's getting translated, but from what IP pool or whatever it is. Okay, I did not know that. Okay, so coming back, yeah. So I know this is from the IP pool, not from the interface. Okay, all right. Next, check one policy line. Policy 1 is matched. Action is accept. So I know that there is a policy by the name of 1, and that is matched. Okay, good to know. I'm going to show you the policy as well. Let me hold on. So I have 192.168.42.95. Okay, let's use this. 192.168.42.95. Done. Login. Admin password. Got it. Okay. Coming back. Okay, so it says policy 1 is being used or is being, matched. So let's see what exactly that policy is. Show firewall policy. Okay, I'll use just this command. Okay, look over here. It says edit 1 and the name is ISP. Okay, now I want to show you one thing over here as well. The name of the firewall policy is ISP, but does it show you the name of the firewall policy? No, it says firewall policy. It says policy -1. Okay, that's the ID identification of the policy, because again, whatever the name you have, ISP, this is for us as in the administrator. It does not make any sense for the firewall. What makes sense for firewall is this edit 1. Okay, identification. That's what matters to the firewall. So I know this. Okay, done, action accept, policy 1 is matched, fine. Next, iprop check message Gina 1004, fine, check result, return matched, action accept. In a way, FortiGate firewall is able to match the firewall policy, is able to get the routes, and everything is done. Everything is done. Next is message after iprop captive portal check. Okay, is there any captive portal enabled? Do I have any captive portal on the FortiGate firewall? Captive -0. What does it mean? Captive -0 basically means no captive portal, 0. Okay, 1 was basically enabled when it says that. Okay, again, next, after check return no match. Basically it's trying to say that there was no return traffic for this, so no match for that. Okay, message over here, it says iprop reverse dnat check, message port 3 in, port 2 out. Okay, so do I have any dnats for it? As of now, no. Final allowed by policy 1 colon snat. Okay, now see, snat is a function. Remember the command debug output s function name enable? That's what it is. It is telling you that I'm using the snat function on the firewall policy. Okay, that's what it is. It's not the name, because a lot of time people A lot of time in the examination, the initial examination, you will get this output. Okay, not exactly similar, but then more or less like this. Okay, and then this will be highlighted. This one will be highlighted, and they'll probably give you an option that is it the name or is it something else. Okay, so over here, this is the function, snat function, source nat function, not the name. Okay, all right. So let's say snat, and it is also telling you that here what this is what this is what is happening. 32.2 is getting translated to 20.20. Okay, out port 2, zone ID, state 0, 0x, quality 0. Oh, quality 0. This is weird. So this basically is telling you that I'm sending the traffic from port 2, but the quality of it is 0. Zero quality. So even if it was 40, 50 or 70 or whatever it is, it would have you would have maybe received the traffic, maybe slow, but you would have still received the traffic. Quality 0 basically means dead. Now something is dead. Now what exactly it is? Okay, now I know the problem is somewhere over here. I know the problem is somewhere on port 2. Okay, now I couldn't get this information from in the packet capture or in the sniffer capture or in the session list. I would have not got this information. This information, although we talked about 30 minutes on this, but once you are aware of this, once you go through it one by one, again and again, do practice. Once you are into the lab environments and into the course, you will be doing this on a daily basis. Once the course is complete for you, this would be like a minute, and you will be able to know, oh, okay, the problem is over here. Oh, this is the line, this is the problem. Oh, okay, got it. Okay, so for you it will be a 2-minute line, for which we have discussed about 30 minutes or so. Okay, so we know problem is over here because the quality is 0. The quality is 0 basically means something is fishy. Either the configuration is wrong, or some cable is wrong, or something is basically not working in the firewall itself. So I know problem over here is somewhere on the FortiGate firewall. It may be some misconfiguration, because quality 0 basically means that the firewall is not configured correctly for port 2. Okay, all right. So now I know this information. What I need to do right now is, if that's the case, how will I check? Let's see. Let's go into the GUI. Let's see what port 2 we have. Okay, let's admin password. Okay, let's see what do we have here. Never change, save the passwords. Okay, so I'll go into the network. I'll go into the interfaces. Okay, I do have port, and yes, I do have the 2020 over here as well. Okay, I do have a tunnel as well. No problem. Where is the problem? Let's have a quick look into the firewall policy. What does the firewall policy look like? Okay. Now see over here, you see this? There is an outgoing interface, and it says virtual WAN link. Now virtual WAN link basically means I'm using SD-WAN. Yes, I do. SD-WAN port 2 and port 1. Okay, let's go back to the SD-WAN. Okay, now see over here, you would be able to see that, okay, my port is being used. There's a virtual WAN link between port 2 and port 1. Okay, and there is some information where about the gateways is being used, but it's the cost value, the download and the upload. Now in the port 2, it's all 0. Do you see this? All zeros. Okay, now I know 100%. Maybe the port 2 is not configured correctly, or maybe whatever the ISP that I'm using on port 2, that is not responsive. Okay, how will I know that? Again, let's see. So if I port 2 is configured, I do not have any information. Let's see the SD-WAN rules. Let's see in the SD-WAN rules. Okay. What do we have over here? So I have a rule which says all hail port 2. Okay, that basically means I'm calling the source 172.16.32.0, and the destination is all fine. Criteria, there's no such criteria. Let me open this up. Yeah, so the source address, local segment, fine. Destination, all okay. So basically everything, everything for this particular source segment. And outgoing interface, select the strategy on how outgoing interfaces will be chosen. So now again, under the SD-WAN, which we are going to talk about in the course itself in great detail. But as of now, it is talking about that I'm using manual interface. Okay, fine. What interface? It says interface preferences port 2. Okay, all right. That's That's what the problem is. So if it says manual port 2 and where exactly the port 2 is configured, where it is. Okay, so let's see over here. My port 2 is connected to another FortiGate firewall, which is in another location, and this guy is down. You see this? This guy is down for me. So in a way, your SD-WAN, you could have an ISP, which could be down. Now, if you haven't configured your SD-WAN in the right format or in the right way, even after you have configured your SD-WAN, this will not work for you. And that's what happening for us as well. I have configured the SD-WAN, but the SD-WAN is not configured correctly. And since the SD-WAN is not configured correctly, my network is down for me. I'm not able to access the Google DNS server. Okay, now how do I fix this issue? As of now, it says everything needs to be using port 2. Okay, do you see the hit count? 25. So I know the traffic is being used and this rule is being used, but the problem is everything is going on port 2 and my port 2 or my port 2 ISP is down. And since my ISP is down, nothing is working for me. So what I do, I'll delete this. Okay, because this is a wrong configuration. I do not want this configuration. So I'll delete this. Okay. Now this implicit, do you see implicit statement in a way it's like any firewall policy. Do you remember, if you haven't configured any firewall policy, what will happen? If you do not have any firewall policy, all the traffic will be dropped, right? But in the SD-WAN, it is just the opposite. In the SD-WAN, you also have an implicit statement, but rather than saying everything will be denied, you are working with the ISPs, you are working with the SD-WAN load balancing, right? So over here, not everything is denied, but everything is allowed because you want the traffic to be forwarded to the ISP, right? Because if something has to be denied, you would have done that till now. If you are on the ISP, you want that traffic to go out, right? So as of now, we have an SD-WAN rule, which is an implicit rule, and I say I'm weighting it on volume basis, and I say 99% on port 1. Okay, you have other options as well, as in the source IP, the spillovers, source destination IP. There's a lot of things that you can do, but as of now, I'm using port 1 with weight-based mechanism. Okay, why do we use the weight-based mechanism? We can use another webinar maybe on the SD-WAN where we can discuss about all these topics in great detail. Not a problem. Okay, so as of now, I'll do this. Okay, and once I have enabled this one, now let's try this again. Let's see if this works out. Ping, and yes, great. So now I'm able to ping the Google DNS server and see it's all, I'm getting all the response back, all the 5 packets, all the 5 packets is coming to me, right? So now know that the problem was on the SD-WAN. One of the rules on the SD-WAN was the problem, not exactly on the not exactly SD-WAN problem. A rule on the SD-WAN was the problem. Now, how would we able to figure that out? We were able to figure that out with the help of a couple of commands that we used. Okay, one was the packet sniffer command. We were able to figure out whether the traffic was received in the firewall and whether it is getting forwarded or not, and what exactly the firewall is doing. So we were able to find out that, okay, something is fishy because we are not able to, because the FortiGate is sending an unreachable command. Okay, so I know problem is on the FortiGate firewall. Just with the help of sniffer command, we figured that out. Okay, next was the session list. I know that the traffic is matching by the firewall policy because it is accepting the traffic. Okay, it is accepting the traffic, but it is not forwarding the traffic anywhere. See the destination part. Okay, in the destination, in the destination column, you have the 8.8. Okay, so I know that the firewall policy is accepted. Session table is being created, but I do not know where the problem is. Then we run the debug flow. Okay, now see, again, it's for every sequence that you see. Okay, now this is what I need to tell you over here. The debug flow talks about things in great detail. What policy, what route, what gateway, what source NAT or destination NAT, and if in case there was a problem, what is the reason? So you say quality is 0 now. Okay, so that was the reason. Okay, so now what we did right now was to figure out that the FortiGate SD-WAN rule was good. Okay, which is why we were having the problem. Now we have fixed that problem. Now we are able to access the resource. Okay, so that was the crux of the whole lab environment, where you should be able to find why you need to use the package sniffer, why you need to use the session list, and why you need to use the debug flow, where you should be using it, and how would you extract the information from the debug, because this is very important. Just displaying the information from the debug flow is one of the easiest things to do. Getting the right information from the debug flow is what separates a good firewall administrator from a bad one. Okay, so that's what we have done right now. Okay, all right, so now today we are going to stop right now, and if you guys have any question about maybe the lab that we did today, or something else, maybe about the course or whatever it is, you guys are free to ask me right now. Let me you guys to unmute yourself. Okay, all right, so guys, any questions, feel free to ask me.
Yeah, hi Rakshit, this is Devi here. Am
Tell
I
me.
audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So like it's my first time on the 40 tickets. So I just want to know if like in the